Everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with another layout, and this is some pictures that I just got printed, and a lot of it is from our trip from last summer when we went and climbed Mount Washington from the second time we did. Now this is a paper pad, a My Mind's Eye paper pad. It has 180 sheets and it's sort of the greatest and the best from My Mind's Eye, and I'm just showing you I have three of them. One of them is all boy, the other one is called Bloom and Groom, and this one I think it's the best of My Mind's Eye. Now I have to say you're going to see my hands moving quite a bit because I originally had wanted to do this in real time, so I started in real time, and then the second part I did in that I wasn't talking. So I decided to do just the whole thing, that I was going to do a voiceover. So I grabbed three papers from My Mind's Eye. One of them is sort of the dark teal with the light polka dots, and I was showing you that the next one is almost the same, except it's the reverse. It's the light teal with the dark polka dot, and then the other one is sort of a distressed background. And the rest is basically I was putting stuff away, like I was putting things away in my craft room, and I ended up with all these leftover papers from previous kits, and I was like, if I put that in a drawer, it's going to stay there for the next 5 years and it's not going to get used up. So I thought, let's just try to do one more layout with it. And one of the things that I love doing the most is using scraps, and so I'm going to cut them about 6 inches wide, and they're all going to vary between 1 inch to 2 inches wide, and maybe some even 3 inches. And I like to use scraps this way. A lot of times I'll do like a horizontal layer all across the page or halfway across the page, and this time I decide to do a vertical line, and I'm going to do it right in the center of the page, and I've done this a few times, and I really like that look. And then one of the cut aparts, it's right there at the top right. It's sort of just plain with a flower at the corner, and that's where that one right there, and that's where I'm going to do my journaling. And so now I'm just trying to see how I'm going to put the strips down the page. And I like that last one on the bottom because it said extraordinary, so I like that. So I didn't want to put it in the middle because I knew that it was going to get covered. So and then I'm showing you that when I'm looking at that flower, I'm also thinking of colors that I can pull. And in that flower you have the yellow, the teal, and the pink. And so that's the colors that I'm going to pull for this page. Now, this here is a sign of a trail. The story behind this is we were at the top of the mountain. All was good. We were planning what I thought was going to go down the same trail that we came up, and we were just about ready to leave. Like, we had been at the top, taken photos, shopped, ate, and taking about an hour and a half break. But it was time to start going down because you don't want to be stuck in the middle of the mountain and it's dark, right? So we were just about ready to go, and we started to chat with this guy that had climbed the mountain also, and he asked us what trail that did we come up, and we told him. And so then my husband asked him, what trail did you come up? And he said, oh, the Jewel Trail. So bang, my husband's just like, oh, I think we should go down a different trail than we came up. And I said, oh, we didn't, Google that trail or anything. We don't know anything about that trail. He's like, oh, it's fine. Tons of people do that trail and yada, yada, yada. So we ended up taking the trail, and I have to say it's way more not as groomed as the other one. There was one spot that we couldn't even tell where the trail was, and it was all rocks, and I ended up hurting my knee going down these rocks. And then the rest of the trail was really difficult because my knee was hurt. And so anyway, that's the joke now. It's like, okay, so we didn't do any research on that trail, and we just decided to go down. And But anyway, it was actually beautiful. It was way more open on that side. It wasn't just rocks that you would see. It was actually other mountains that you saw quite a bit more. And so we ended up taking some really cool pictures going down that side of the mountain. But so that's a story that I'm going to be talking about is, maybe next time we could find out a little bit more about it before we decide to take a different trail. So I know I want to use that strip. I know I want to use those two pictures, and I don't want to cut them down a lot because one of them says the trail. The other one kind of shows the mountain, but I know I can cut it down a little bit. There's some extra people there at the very end that wasn't Josh or anything like that. It was, it was just other people. So I'm like, okay, well, I can cut that down. You still see quite a bit of the mountains. And the one to the far left is me. And yes, I have my hoodie up, not because it was cold. It's because when you're at the top of the mountain like that, it is super windy, and it was really hard on the ears, and it was giving me an earache. It is cooler than it was down at the mountain. I think down the mountain, it was like almost 30 degrees Celsius. And at the top, it was almost 0. Like it was cold. But you're just, because you're climbing the mountain, you're just so warm that you don't feel that cold. Once we got inside, I could feel like my fingers, they felt like where the knuckles are. It was really cool, almost frozen. But at the top of the mountain, they have like chili and, warm drinks. And so once we got at the top of the mountain, I had a pair of gym pants, and I put those on while we were inside just to kind of warm, so that my muscles would stay warm and not cool off too much. I mean, you did end up cooling off because we stopped for an hour, but I didn't want to cool off too fast because then your muscles hurt, right? And but it was a good experience. Now, next weekend, if it's nice, we're not going if it's not nice because we have the whole summer to go and it's not far. But we're going to climb a mountain, which is the highest mountain here I guess it's in the Maritimes. And it's a couple of hours from here. So we're going to go climb that with Mason. There's two trails. One is a little harder, and the other one is just basically like a trail. I mean, it goes up, but it's not like super difficult. So Mason, I think, will be able to do that. And he's super excited because he's been wanting to climb a mountain with us ever since we climbed the first time. And he was only 2.5 then, and he still asked us like a lot when will he be able to climb a mountain with us. So this year is the year we're going to take him to climb a mountain. Now this is a Dear Lizzie pattern paper that I did use on another layout. I don't think I uploaded that one yet. I think I have 4 or 5 that are, all done up. I just got to do the voiceover and upload them. So I should be able to upload some, a couple of videos at least a week until my video a day for July. I'm scrapbooking a whole bunch, but I need to make sure that I kind of get a lot of videos saved up so that I can upload a video a day in the whole month of July. So that's coming up starting July 1st, and I can't wait. And what type of videos am I going to do? I'm going to try to do close to half. That's going to be layouts. And then I'm going to try and do some DIY, maybe a couple of DIYs, because those take a long time to make. I'm going to start my room tour. And that's going to be at least, I'm thinking 4 videos at least, and different things like that. I'm probably going to do some product reviews and that kind of stuff. So I'm so excited to get that started, and that's going to start on July 1st. Okay, now that I have all those pattern papers cut down to size, now it's time to start putting it all together and doing the embellishments. Now that strip of pattern paper with the flower that I want to do my journaling, I didn't like that it was going beyond the borders of the destined of the strip. So I end up cutting it down and then overlapping it so that it makes the 6 inches. And then the yellow strip probably didn't even need to be there because you don't actually get to see it, but I didn't know what I was going to do at the time, so I covered the whole background. Now this is a Stampin' Up! Tiny or thin washi tape. I just got it a couple weeks ago, and it's a nice stripe teal. And I'm trying to put it so it goes under the pattern paper and not over top. I didn't like the look of it over top, and see, I tried it there and I don't like it, so I'm like, no. So I just put it down, and then I'm going to lift every single piece and then tuck it underneath. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I just like that it kind of finishes the edges, even though they're not tucked underneath the washi tape. It still kind of finishes the edge of it. And actually, as I'm pulling on the pattern paper to stick the washi tape underneath, I like that it gives the pattern papers a little bit of dimension. And I have to say, I did struggle with that side quite a bit. I think the other side I have less trouble with it, but this side I do have a little bit more trouble. I was being a little fussy about how much of the washi tape was actually, showing on the side of it. And I think the next side, either I, get it done super quickly, or I'm not as fussy. Because after a while, I'm just like, okay, really, does it really matter? Just put it down and just move on, because these layouts can end up taking a long time if you do change your mind a lot of times. I guess I did fuss with this side too. This layout ended up taking me an hour and a half, which is, I'd say, probably on the longer side of how long it takes me to do a layout. Usually it takes me anywhere between 50 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. So when I start getting into an hour and a half to 2 hours, that's usually the longer layouts. But it's not a race, right? It's just fun to be able to get some of these layouts into my scrapbook. And it's nice that I'm scrapbooking some, well, it's not even newer pictures, because I've had them this was a year ago, but they're newer to me because I just got them printed last week or the week before. So they're newly printed, and I haven't really scrapbooked a lot from our second climb up Mount Washington. The first time I did quite a few pages for that trip, but this last trip up the mountain, I didn't get any of the pictures, or hardly any of the pictures, scrapped. So now I'm going to get this done this summer, so that I'm going to be ready, and when we climb this next mountain, that I can document that a little bit more, because there's going to be quite a few more people going up the mountain this time, so that'll be fun. So I'm taking my distress ink in the evergreen bow, and I just love, that's probably my favorite color. I do have quite a bit of the distress inks refills, and it's a good thing, because I do use my distress inks quite a bit, for inking, and then just for some ink techniques too. So having the refill does help. I cut down the pattern paper by a little bit, and then it's kind of neat because the second pattern paper, you kind of see just one dot around the whole thing. And those two pattern papers are from My Mind's Eye, and they're very, very thin. And I mean, you do get 180 sheets in one package, so you can't expect them to be the heavy duty pattern papers, but that's okay, because I did end up putting two of them, one behind the other, so it makes it a little bit more sturdier, not that much, but the way I look at it is probably the backside to that page is going to be like a cardstock or something like that, so it'll be okay. It's not as sturdy as most of my pages, but it'll be fine. So I did use the inside of that pattern paper, the darker teal, and I did mount my photos on it again, just leaving one little polka dot all the way around. And now that I have sort of the base of my layout, now I'm just going to play with the embellishments. And those two, they were leftovers, most of them from previous pages, and they were just, I was picking them up, going to put them in my little container that I have on my desk for leftovers that I just chuck on my desk. And then once in a while I go through it and I try to do some layouts with them, just because I want to try and use as many of my embellishments as I possibly can. And once I open a package of embellishments, I try to use it up as much as possible. So I have, when I do my room tour, I'll show you, but I have quite a bit of embellishments that are still in, you know, in the little package that they come into, and they're going to stay in there until I open them. I have quite a few those iris containers, the smaller ones, and I have quite a few embellishments in there, and I want to go into those first and see if I can use up those embellishments before I open new packages. And then when I open a new package, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in its own iris container until I do a few layouts with them. And then once it's been used for, you know, a bit, then I'm going to sort them by color. But anyway, I'll show you that as I'm doing my room tour. So these words are some embellishments that were from a Maggie Holmes collection. I'm not really sure which collection it is, because they're not very good at putting the name of the collection on the embellishment packages. So if you don't write it down on the back of them when you get them, once you use them for a little bit, if you're like me, you're going to forget, which is what I do. I tend to forget. Now these are my favorite thickers. They're like an enamel letter, and I'm just going to write out Jewel Trail, and I'm using the thickers ruler, and that'll be one of the videos that I do for the month of July. I'm going to show you everything that comes in that package of those rulers and how you use them. Now that I have my paper strips down, my washi tape, I'm going to start committing and putting down those embellishments, and I'm just taking all those three main colors. So I'm using the yellow, the teal, and the pink, and I'm going to make some embellishment clusters in a few spots. And then I'm going to put my title with one of the embellishment clusters right here to the left of the layout. And that yellow sticker was from another layout that I didn't end up using, and it says Pretty Monumental. And then some of these words are, it says Happy Heart, because we were so happy to be able to climb the mountain with two of our kids and her fiance. And then the other one says Together. And then it says, this one here, it says, Remember This Extraordinary. And it was a fun week that we spent together, and also the mountain itself was pretty awesome. And while I'm finishing up here, again, I'm just using quite a few of those embellishments that I didn't get to use on other layouts. I'm using it on this layout, and this is going to complete my layout. I think I'm going to put maybe a little bit of sprinkles, but that's it. And then there is some close-up pictures at the very end. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be uploading every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and sometimes on Saturdays. And for the month of July, I'm going to be uploading every day for the month of July. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Bye.